Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world you are joining us from. And thank you for taking the time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Orla Dormer. I am Head of Growth and Community with TrustWorks and also host of Practical Privacy Podcast. It's a short form podcast focusing on real challenges and strategies in the trenches, let's say. If you don't know TrustWorks itself is a leading privacy and AI governance platform built around the reality of how organizations actually work. And we also offer a community for privacy and security professionals. We have over 600 members at the moment, where we share best practices, advice. We regularly host roundtable discussions where you can actively participate in the conversation. And we also offer a mentorship and a peer program for networking with your peers. So if you would like to join, there should be a link available somewhere here. You can also visit the TrustWorks website or DM me directly and I'll happily look after you. So today I am very pleased to welcome Fred Descloux, Director of Privacy, Data Security and GRC for Newskin and founder of Zero Drama Security. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So I think everyone can agree that you cannot govern what you can't see. However, one of the major challenges we're all facing today is how to get visibility on the use of AI. So what are the main factors that are at play here, in your opinion?
So there are many factors, but what's interesting is, I'm going to try to come up with a few ones, but what's interesting is that they're all converging at the same time, at once together. And that's what makes this a little bit challenging to navigate. So if you think about factors, I think the first one that comes to mind is speed. Teams, employees, business teams, they're adopting AI really fast, and more importantly, faster than the governance processes, right? Governance processes have been designed to operate at a certain pace. The adoption of AI is much faster, right? So from a speed perspective, what it means is that governance professionals or governance as a whole is most of the time trying to catch up after adoption has already started. So I think speed is key. Another factor that I think about, and of course that's the topic of this conversation, but it's visibility. Or should I say invisibility? Because AI is no longer just ChatGPT. AI is embedded everywhere almost, right? You embedded it into Microsoft, into Salesforce, your ServiceNow, your Adobe, Google Workspace, name it, right? It's hundreds of platforms that we used to call SaaS platforms. They're becoming AI platforms, right? So, and we don't really know which of our vendors that we already approved are now processing our data through AI, and that's a radical change of landscape if you compare from 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. Another factor that comes to play, I think, is how the data flows are changing in nature, right? What we used to have with what I would call the traditional systems is, traditional systems, they store data and that's it. AI systems, they're going to do what? They're going to reason over data. They're going to generate new content. They're going to retain prompts, sometimes outputs. They're going to learn from interactions. They're going to trigger actions sometimes through agents and so on. So this, from a processing activity perspective for our privacy professionals, it's fundamentally different. So the world is changing and has changed extremely fast. And if you think about it from an organization perspective as well, and I think that's the last factor that I would think about is, the ownership of AI is fragmented across the organization. You're going to have privacy is going to own a part of it. Security is going to own another part of it. Procurement is reaching vendors. IT is enabling, implementing platforms. Business teams are buying AI tools. And so the problem at the end, come to fragment, is no one has the full picture. No one has the complete picture. So bottom line, there are many other factors. That's 3 or 4 that come to mind. Bottom line is what I think we're realizing, and that stemmed as well a lot from the roundtable conversation, is visibility itself. It's becoming a control. the most important thing, I think, most important AI control that we have right now is not around like a smarter model. It's around how we can trace this, how we can, what inventory we have, what logging, what accountability we have for what the tool touched, what the tool decided, and what data the tool exposed as well. That's, yeah, complete change of scenery.
And normally, I suppose the starting point for all of this really is our data mapping. Traditionally, it was our data mapping, and now we're thinking of AI data mapping. But what is the difference? So, what should we be doing differently, let's say, or where should we be putting our focus that we didn't necessarily before?
So, I think, as a lot of things, AI is not necessarily replacing traditional aspects of our job. And here for data mapping is the same thing. It's not the AI data mapping is not going to replace the traditional data mapping, but it's going to extend it. It's going to complicate it a little bit sometimes. The traditional data mapping was merely one question that you're asking, right? Where does data flow? Where does personal data flow? And you're done. When you think about AI data mapping, you're going to ask a whole other set of questions. You're going to ask questions like, okay, where is AI involved? Which model is used? Where is it hosted? Or is it internal? Is it third party? What is the information that enters? But wait for it, what's the information that leaves too? So that's another piece. Talk about retention. So can the prompts be retained? Can the outputs be retained as well? Can the data be used for training when you think about from a vendor perspective, for example, is there an oversight for a human reviewing outputs? Who owns the use case? So there is so many questions that we're asking on top of what we used to ask when it comes to data mapping. And these questions are purely governance questions. So it's a great opportunity for governance professionals to step up and own this and participate into these conversations, because that's something that I remember from the roundtable conversation. Someone said that the organizations have they have an asset inventory, an application inventory, a vendor inventory, a ROPA because GDPR. They don't necessarily have an AI inventory, and I think that's the missing layer that we have today as we are growing, as we are gaining maturity through this AI journey. The missing layer is this AI inventory. It's not replacing the existing governance, but it's going to be the connective tissue. It's going to connect everything, and that's going to help us govern AI going forward.
And I suppose when I think back to the traditional data mapping, one of the biggest challenges was shadow IT. But now we're looking at shadow AI. So, how do we go about tackling this?
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the term shadow or shadow IT, shadow AI. That's why I always smile when I hear it. But it's definitely a concept that is worth tackling. But it's the name shadow AI. Sometimes it pushes us, I think, to the wrong solution. When we hear shadow, what you think is, oh my God, that's bad, right? So let's detect it, let's block it, let's ban it, and we're done. No more shadow. When you ask, if you go on the other side of the fence and you ask the users, the employees that are using AI, that are using AI tools that are not necessarily, disclosed, the reason why they're doing this is it's not a bad intent. It's not malicious. It's usually around productivity, right? They're trying to respond to emails or write better emails. They're trying to summarize a document or a huge email thread that you're looped in. I do this. They try to analyze spreadsheets, like huge amount of data, because that's where these AI models are good, right? They're not trying to bypass. They're not trying to bypass things. They're not trying to bypass governance, so they don't necessarily enjoy breaking rules. They're not hiding their use of AI because they think they know they're breaking rules. The reason why they're hiding it is because they think actually governance is going to say no. And I think that's where the mindset needs to shift pretty drastically. We in the organization, we need approved tools. We need guidance on how to use tools and which tool to use. We need training. I know someone made an amazing pledge around training during the round table. We need training for users, of course, because at the end, all of this is going to participate into what I think organizations need as well today is what I call like psychological safety. Yeah, you need to feel comfortable as an employee to raise your hand and say, hey, I found this tool. It's an AI tool. It can help me do X, Y, Z. What do you think about it? Is it fine? Can I use it? That's how you're going to that's one of the starting points of visibility. If you come back to visibility, it's not through like punishing and banning. It's through, opening conversation, opening the door for having conversation with everyone in an organization.
Yeah, I think the reality of it is, if you say no, or if people think you're going to say no, they're going to find a way around it anyway. It's human nature.
Of course, human nature, exactly.
It was interesting, actually, one of the people in the conversation the other day actually suggested as well, asking employees ahead of the game what they would want an AI tool to do and sourcing the right AI tools to provide for them. And I think training is key. I think for a business to thrive, we need to leverage AI. We need to use it, but we also need to make sure that our employees know how to do it safely. And there's an assumption that everyone knows how to use AI, but maybe how they know how to use it isn't the right way to use it. So getting trained.
That's a very fair question. Yes, conversational. You can't. It's not a top-down world anymore, right? You need to emulate conversation, especially when you're facing this type of technological tsunami like AI is.
Yeah. So you mentioned as well earlier on about how, and it's so true, the amount of vendors that you do your initial, vendor review or whatever, everything is great. You start using the tool, time has passed. And suddenly, they released all these new AI features that were not considered originally. So what are your recommendations around this? So first of all, when you're doing the initial vendor review process, and then down the line, how do you ensure that this is, let's say, under control further down the road?
Yes. Vendor review is another thing that has changed dramatically over the past 18, 24 months. Before that, the way we used to do vendor review, right? I mean, everyone knows it is let's ask questions around security, privacy, availability, sub-processors. If you did a good job, you start asking questions, this type of questions. Now, the way I handle these conversations, I start with actually one very simple question. When we want to onboard a new vendor where I know AI is around like 90% of the time, first question is, okay, where is AI involved? And I let it sink. And that creates a conversation. And then you start digging deeper. You start asking more questions around, okay, is our customer data reaching their models, the vendor's foundation models? Is it retained? Is this data going to be used for training of their models? Can the customers opt out of the training of data? Is there a human as well reviewing the output or reviewing the output of these models? Are all these AI capabilities that are embedded, are they enabled by default, or can we also toggle them off, for example? Can AI take actions when you think about agentic AI and so on? So I think you alluded to this in your question. It's interesting because it's not just about the challenge. I think it's not just about the reviewing the new vendors, because it's, in a way, it's easy, right? You have a new vendor, well, new set of questions, perfect. But okay, let's think about the vendors that we actually have approved sometimes years ago, because AI has changed the way they process our information. It has changed fundamentally, right? And so vendor risk cannot keep being like this point in time activity. It has to be more continuous. We have to change our vendor risk questionnaires as well. We have to ask questions that are targeted on real access controls, on monitoring, on the ability to disconnect a vendor. Otherwise, it's just going to be theater, right? You don't want a questionnaire to just be a checkbox. That's really the direction I think we need to take from a vendor risk management in the world of AI.
Yeah, so it's going to make big changes and possibly a lot more work for compliance teams.
That is correct, but at the end we're serving the organization, right? We are back to this fragmented organization factor that I mentioned earlier. We can be also kind of the oil in the engine, the oil in the machine. We can help connecting things together and asking the questions. By asking the question, you involve others, and so I'm hoping that this extra work that we're doing is eventually going to not change, but make the organization evolve towards more this working together that we need.
Yeah, I think, well, as always in the privacy space, collaboration is key. You can't do it alone. You do need input from everybody, so no less so in this case.
100%.
So when it comes to building out an AI inventory then, any practical advice, let's say, that you could offer?
Yeah, you might have heard me saying this, I think, in a previous conversation. I like to say that sometimes, or to my teams as well, is this sentence is ugly action beats perfection, right? So don't wait for perfection. Start now. Start simple. Just a spreadsheet. It's fine. It's better than nothing, right? So start easy. Open a spreadsheet, an empty spreadsheet, and try and start putting a few columns. What I would try to capture first when I'm doing an AI inventory, I would capture who is the business owner. That's critical. What's the business purpose? Of course, we need to know why we have this use case. Who is the AI provider? What are the data categories that are involved? Do we have sensitive personal data involved? What's the risk level of this use case? And then classic assessment status, review date, things like this. So you start really simple. You start with, because you don't want to overthink how you're going to build this AI inventory. The more you overthink, the more you're going to wait. And remember, the first factor I talked about, speed, right? We need to operate at a different speed. So start simple, start ugly, start and think about, and then little by little, you're going to enrich that, right? You're going to enrich your AI inventory. You're going to ask different questions, more mature questions around retention, prompt retention, for example, output retention. What are the training policies? What are the questions around identity, such as like agent permissions? What's the logging, and so on. So you start small, you start simple, and then you build little by little. That's the best way to go at the pace where we should go. And you also, regulators are going to catch up on this as well very quick. And when they're going to catch up, that's going to, sometimes we're going to feel a bit maybe the pain. I don't know. We'll see. But we need to do that AI inventory effort, not just thinking about the regulators, because they do their job, we do our job. So you should not have an AI inventory. You should not initiate this effort just thinking about the regulation that's coming. You need an AI inventory because your teams need it, right? Security needs it. Privacy team needs an AI inventory. Procurement needs it too. Internal audit is going to need it. And guess what? The incident response team needs it, because if you put yourself in the situation of an AI incident, it starts, and the incident response team is still trying to figure out who owns the model. You already failed. You're already behind, and your governance as a function has failed. So yeah, AI inventory is critical, and on top of this, not on top of this, but among these questions, I think the ownership question is probably the first field I would capture.
And it's interesting the way you say, like, don't wait for perfection, get going, because I see so many companies that I feel are still stuck on we're still designing and building out our policies. But I don't know if they're afraid to start taking that step because they're not confident in what direction they should be going in. But
yeah, I mean, we're perfectionists, right? When you think about the privacy professionals, governance professionals, there's also a kind of I would say, a neighbor discipline with the legal aspects of an organization. So you have also individuals that want to consume the information, want to understand something really well before making a decision, before starting a process, before starting a policy, and that's great, but that's not adapted to the speed, to the pace at which we're going. So that's another mindset shift that is absolutely necessary. We need to go faster. We need to try to, I wouldn't say stay ahead of the curve, but at least with the curve, if we can. Don't let the pace go faster than you try to go with the pace. And that means if you think about like vendor risk management, what we said earlier, right? You cannot do point in time vendor management anymore. It has to be continuous, and in all the security disciplines, you see this, right? You have to shift from these recurring reviews to more continuous monitoring. So it's critical to move faster, and and then you realize that there are a lot of things that you used to do that maybe were not bringing a lot of value, and maybe we were just ticking boxes. So it's a good way as well to trim down a certain number of activities that we used to do because it was comfortable, because it was always the same thing. Hey, we're February, let's do this new annual activity. What value does it bring in this? What did it bring, and what is it still bringing value today? If not, trim it and then focus on really what really the organization needs in this in the FAI.
Yeah, I think actually that could be part of the reason as well why some companies are stuck. It's on the one hand, it's because this has fallen into the lap of the privacy team, who's already overworked, and their focus is, we have so much to do. There's a fear of investing time in doing this and not doing it right. So it's almost like, let's just wait first of all and make sure we've all our ducks in a row before we invest the time. But then on the other hand, it's literally just, how do you balance everything? How did you say you have to now start doing more continuous assessments and looking at your vendors? And that's just one of the many aspects you need to do here. And there's also the question, a lot of organizations, I feel, where it's like, today it's the responsible of the privacy team, but it's not clear down the line if that's going to continue to be the case. So do you invest the time knowing that it may go to somebody else? So I feel there's a lot of uncertainty still around how to do it.
It's a fair question to, talk about human nature, right? I think it's a natural question to ask. Is it fair? I don't think so. It's not because it's not something that you're going to own in the future that you're like, oh, that's fine. It's going to be this other team that's going to handle it. I'm good. I don't need to spend time on it. Well, you might want to try to understand it, right? I think the professionals, that leads me to another line that I like to discuss sometimes. But I think the professionals that are going to shine in the next years, I don't know for how long, but in the next years at least, are going to be the more like the generalist type of professionals. Like being an expert is great, but it puts you in a silo, and I think these silos are exploding with AI. You need to be generalist. You need to understand what other teams are doing. That's back to this mindset of we need to unfragment the organizations. The way you do this, you create conversations, you create discussions, you value the folks that are going to try to understand what the other teams are doing. You try to emulate this conversation as well. Everyone needs to be hands on deck and help through this. If a professional is having this this mindset of that's not me, I'm not going to invest the time on this because it's going to be this activity is going to be handled by another team or by AI, well, that might not be the mindset that is going to help in the very near future.
Yeah. No, and the reality is you need a multidisciplinary team to look after this. So one way or the other, you're going to be involved.
Yes, exactly. So we better understand it at the very beginning.
Exactly. So any final thoughts or words of wisdoms that you could share?
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, I don't know if that's a word of wisdom, but I'm an optimistic in nature, and we're getting to a point where I'm finally happy because we're moving away when it comes to AI governance and AI overall. We're moving away from the principles, from the buzzwords, from the shiny stuff. We're moving towards execution. We're talking inventory. We talked about inventory here, right? We're talking about ownership, monitoring, review, and so on. So all of this, it's operational, right? We're getting really practical now, and I think the beauty of it is when you think about privacy professionals at large, they somehow already have seen this movie before, right? And this movie was called GDPR. All right, because GDPR forced so many organizations to build governance processes, data inventories, ROPAs, and so on. Right, so it didn't just create paperwork. Right, that's a way to see it, but what it helped organizations do is build a governance muscle, and that's the same muscle today is the one that is needed. That's one that AI governance, AI oversight now requires. So I think it's a positive message. It's a good momentum that we have right now. And if you look at this, try to look at the glass half full. The organizations are not starting from zero, right? They already know how to build governance processes, governance capabilities. What they need to do, they just quote unquote just need to extend that logic, that mindset, that approach into the AI world. And but let's all remember that the key, the foundation of this building this house that we're building, it's visibility. You can't, back to this the name of this session, right? You can't govern what you can't see, right? So find out what we have, get it visible, and then build the processes. We know how to do this. We did it a few years ago. Let's redo it in a different space, but first we need to know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think it's true. Well, this is going to move at a faster pace maybe than when GDPR came in. As you say, we've already got the groundwork done. So we've already got the experience. We just need to adapt and run with it.
Yeah, I'm counting on muscle memory here. So hopefully, to your point, it's going to go faster, but we did it already in a way. So it should not put us in such a tough spot.
No, we've been training. Now the sprint is here at the end. So.
That's the game. That's a real game today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Fred. I really appreciate you sharing your insights with everyone today.
Of course, my pleasure. It was great to be here.
So that's it. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you found this beneficial. Would love to hear your thoughts in the chat, and any questions, obviously, feel free to share. And as I mentioned before, if you would like to join the community and actively take part in these discussions, we, on a monthly basis, more or less, we host different roundtable discussions on different topics. And yes, would absolutely love to have you join us, possibly even lead a roundtable. So yeah, hopefully hear from you all soon, and have a great rest of the day.